Hi players, Lillian back again from the YogaVibes headquarters to bring you week 4 of the mobility portion for your January Whole Life Challenge. We hope you've been enjoying our yoga classes so far. This week, Sage Roundtree is back with another everyday yoga sequence. This one is everyday yoga for relaxation and recovery. This one is all about chilling out, so you'll want to have a blanket or a towel and some free wall space. If you don't have any free wall space, just a door will do. Just make sure it's locked so that nobody can come in while you're practicing nearby. So roll out your mat, practice with us, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Sage Roundtree with a short routine from Everyday Yoga. This is a delicious routine focusing on relaxation and recovery. Let's start down on our backs. Hug your knees in towards your chest. You can hold on the tops of the shins or wrap your hands around to the backs of your knees. Rock from side to side. And take both hands over to your right knee. You can hug it again from the shin or behind the back of the knee. Let your left knee be pretty much over your left hip. Find your breath. And when your breath comes in, extend your left leg up toward the ceiling. And as it goes out, just bend your knee and let your left heel dangle. Inhale, extend your leg up. Exhale, bring it down. You can inhale as you extend, flex your ankle, press up through the heel, and then as the foot comes down, point the toes, squeeze the heel in towards your fanny. This way, we're engaging the front to release the back, and we're engaging the back to release the front. About 3 more. Feeling a hamstring and calf stretch as the leg comes up, maybe feeling an ankle stretch and a shin stretch as the foot comes down. This next time, let's hold the left leg up, roll through the ankle, open through the toes, maybe point and flex the foot. Imagine that your foot were a hand and make a fist. Finally, take a few breaths where you press up through the left heel and pull the left toes back towards your face. Pull your hands against your right knee a little bit more. Push your right leg back into your hands. This helps steady your pelvis. Bring your breath in. And as your breath goes out, lower your left leg down to hover off of the floor a few inches. We'll stay here for a few breaths. If it's too spicy, just take the foot to the floor with the knee bent. Press out through the left heel, pull back through the left toes, and maybe a nice stretch along the front of the left hip. With an exhalation, let your left heel come all the way down to the floor. Keep just a little bit of energy running down the left leg so it doesn't get totally floppy. Instead, just a light engagement so the knee and the toes are facing up toward the ceiling, and that helps to hold the pelvis steady. Relax in the right hip and use your arms to circle your right knee through space. As the knee is moving around, the head of the femur is exploring in the hip socket. If there are places that feel a little tense, you might like to make a few passes over them. If there are places that feel pinchy, just work around them. The pinchiness is compression, and we don't need to work to change that. The stretchy feeling is a release of tension, and that's very nice to let go of. Let your circling eventually feed your right knee over to the right for a relaxing tree pose on your back. So the knee will come down toward the floor. The sole of your right foot is near or maybe up against the left inner thigh. If this feels like it's too much, just straighten the leg out some so that the sole of the foot is instead near the calf. Stretch your arms up overhead. Enjoy the light back bend here. Let your lowest ribs open. Let your abs stretch. And use your shoulders and head against the mat to shimmy your shoulders toward the right until you feel a stretch emerge up the left side. You could tug on your left wrist or your left elbow with your right hand. So a side bending tree pose down on the back. Left hip is heavy, left shoulder's heavy. Lots and lots of breath. Now bring your shoulders back up over your hips. Take your right hand down to your right knee. Inhale, lift it up through center, and exhale, give it to your left hand. So your left hand can guide your right knee across your body. Your right toes could catch on the left inner thigh, or they could step to the floor in front of you. Your right arm is stretched off to the side, away from you. You can turn your head to the right. Either stay where you are or start some exploration with the right arm. It could swing down toward the back of the pelvis. It could lift up. It could even start to make some big circles or semicircles around the body. If the semicircles feels good, you could use the exhales as you open the right arm over to the right. Another 2 or 3 breaths. Find a place to let the right arm land for about 3 more breaths. Inhale, return to your back with your right knee hugged in, and then your left. You can rock from side to side. We'll be doing all of this for the other side. So the hands will come over to the left knee. Light hug of the left knee in. Inhale, straighten the right leg toward the ceiling. Exhale, bend your right knee, just let your right heel dangle. Inhale as we lift, and exhale as we lower. We could inhale, lift, and flex. Exhale, lower, and point. Engaging the front to stretch the back, and engaging the back to stretch the front. About 3 more breaths, enjoying the hamstring and calf stretch, and maybe top of the ankle, front of the shin. Next time the right leg is up, keep it up. You could draw your ankle rolls, point your toes. Fan through the toes like you're playing scales. Open and close. Then stay for a few breaths with a really engaged front right leg. Right heel pushing up, right toes pulling back. Pull your hands against your left leg. Push your left leg back into your hands. And with your breath going out, let your right heel come down, down, down toward the floor. Hover if that works. If that's too spicy, just bend the knee. Rest the foot on the floor instead. Nice firm press out through the right heel to stretch into the front of the right hip. And with an exhalation, let the right heel come down. Relax the right leg some, but not all of the way. So there's some light engagement, knee and toes face up toward the ceiling. Get really relaxed through the left hip and let your arms do this motion of moving the left knee through space. So the head of the femur is stirring into the hip socket. Hold your pelvis steady. That's what that light engagement through the right leg is useful for. Stay away from any compression feelings, pinchiness, just kind of end range movement. Instead, enjoy making a few more passes over the places that feel like there's some tension to be released, some good stretching. Eventually, the left knee will come all the way over to the left for a tree pose on your back. The sole of the foot could come against the inner thigh or the inner calf, or not even that close to the right leg. Lift both arms up overhead. Bend your elbows as much as you need to so that the backs of your hands can be on the floor. It's okay to let your low back now peel up off the floor, the curve of the low back moving up. A lot of space there. Stretch for the ribs and the abs. We'll add a side bend by working the head and shoulders over to the right, over to the left until we feel the stretch coming up the right. This stretch can be enhanced by tugging on the right wrist or the right elbow with the left hand. Big full breaths expanding through the rib cage. When the side bend in this direction feels pretty even with the first, you work your shoulders back up over your hips. Slide your left hand to your outer left thigh. Inhale, guide the left knee up. Exhale, right hand can help it across the body. Come up onto the outer edge of the right hip. Your left toes could be on your left inner thigh or resting down on the floor, and your left arm slides away from center for a few breaths. Stay as you are. If you're happy here, start to move your right arm through space. It could move out on your left arm through space. It could move on the left side of your mat. Or it could start to do that semicircle arc. So you see your left hand in front of your face, and then it opens out away from you. You could use an inhalation to roll closed and an exhalation to open into the twist. Maybe one more. Find a place that you'd like to leave your left arm for these last few breaths of the twist. And when this side feels even with the first, make your way onto your back. Again, hug your knees in towards your chest. Turn to one side and press your way up to sitting, because for the second half of this sequence, we'll be using the wall. You'll come to your wall or your closed and locked door, and you'll shimmy with your legs up as close as you can get your bottom to the wall without being too strong a stretch on your hamstrings. If you need for there to be some space between your bottom and the wall, that's okay. Just make sure that you're not locking out in your knees. They should maintain a soft bend. Once you've got your legs up and comfortable, spread your arms off to the sides in some position that feels comfortable. This could be an inverted V, a T, a W, a Y, or an A shape up overhead. Stay about 5 breaths, noticing the effects of having your feet up. When you do this pose toward the end of a long, hot day, you can feel all the excess fluid that's accumulated in your ankles getting recirculated. We're going to use this position as a home base for some more work around the hips and the hamstrings. Let's take the right heel off the wall until we feel a stretch on the back of the right thigh. And this hamstring stretch should be registering more in the belly of the muscle and not so much up toward the sitting bone attachment of the hamstring. Explore the outer hamstring as well. So rotate your right foot internally, rotate your hip internally so that the thigh is moving in, and then the right foot drifts over toward the left. Try to keep your right hip down on the floor. We're not making a twist here. Instead, we're just crossing the leg over. You should feel a stretch coming in the outer area of the right thigh, the IT band, maybe up toward the glutes, and then also the outer hamstrings around the back of the thigh. Bring your right leg back up over the right hip. Externally rotate the leg and slide the right foot more up over your right shoulder. You shouldn't have to go very far before you feel a stretch. Let's stay here for 2 or 3 breaths, just starting to access the inner line of the hamstrings. And we'll deepen that by dropping the right knee down toward the armpit. Maybe your hand will reach for your foot. Maybe it's better to have the hand on the back of the thigh. If that's too spicy, just take the ball of the right foot or the entirety of the right foot back to the wall. If you like the feeling, then you're coaxing your right knee down toward the floor, just wide of the right armpit. Now keep this bend in the right knee. Take the right ankle over the left thigh, maybe just above the knee, although it feels like below from this current perspective. Hold your right knee back toward the wall without pushing hard, just preventing it from collapsing in toward the chest. If you feel an outer hip stretch in the right side here, great. If you don't, you could get to it by bending the left knee and resting the sole of the left foot against the wall, maybe even dragging it down some. But try not to elevate here with the pelvis. At that point, you're just stretching in your low back instead of stretching in your hip. Let's stay a few more breaths. Eventually, you'll straighten your left leg up the wall and cross the right ankle. Also prop the right foot up against the wall. Stretch yourself back into legs up the wall. Take about 5 breaths between sides. Now peel your left heel off the wall. Reach your hands for the back of the left thigh where you should feel a nice stretch. You can press up through the heel and back through the toes to enhance that. A few breaths here, just stretching right in the belly of the hamstrings. Now internal rotation of the left thigh. Point your left toes over to the right and cross the leg over the midline of the body, maybe over the right leg, but the left hip is staying heavy down on the floor. For less, the left heel is closer to the wall. For more, the left heel is farther away. We'll take the left leg back over the left hip, externally rotate the leg, and slide it up over the left shoulder, or at least heading in that direction. Just for a few breaths, starting the release in the inner line of the hamstrings and the inner thighs. And we'll deepen that by bending the knee and dropping the knee down, just wide of the left side of the rib cage and the left armpit. For less, you can hold the back of the knee. You can also rest the foot against the wall. For more, you're reaching for the foot and helping the left knee descend. When you're ready to move from half happy baby to figure 4, you'll be keeping this same cross of the left leg, the same bend in the left knee, and crossing the outer ankle over the right thigh. Remember, a light coax of the left knee back toward the wall without pushing too hard. And if you're not feeling a stretch in the outer left hip, bend your right knee, flip the sole of your right foot to the wall. Keep the bottom of the pelvis, the back of the pelvis, heavy down on the floor though. We're not letting it curl up. This helps us target the hip stretch instead of taking a back stretch. Right leg will straighten up. When this side feels finished, the left heel will too. Again, spread your arms in some position that feels comfortable for your chest and observe the effects of those stretches around the backs of the thighs, the outer and inner lines of the hips. Here's an option to release some in the front line of the hips. If you're not familiar with the shoulder stand, you really ought to watch this before trying to do it, because once you're in it, it's going to be difficult to see. I'll show you where we're going. You'd bend the knees, have the soles of the feet on the wall. Make sure there's nothing underneath the back of your head, so your neck is nice and neutral. Start with your elbows alongside your hips. Press your feet against the wall. Curl some weight up. And then you can work your shoulders a little closer, maybe your elbows a little closer. If the heels of the hands are on the lowest ribs, the fingers are spreading wide up. You can stay exactly here with the knees together. You can stretch one or both legs up toward the ceiling. Anytime that you want to come down, all you'll need to do is bend a knee and reach for the wall. There should be not too much pressure in your neck here. If that means that instead of lifting the feet up, you keep the heels on the wall, then that's the better choice for you. About 3 more breaths. In the version where your heels are on the wall, you can push your hips more into the space in the center of your room to release along the front line of each hip. And when you're ready to come down, have your heels on the wall, move your shoulders and elbows out of the way, and slowly roll through your spine. Heels come back up the wall. Press the backs of the elbows down against the floor. Really get very engaged through the back. Pull your belly in towards your spine. This helps to reset after the stretch up and down. Now relax. Bend your knees. Walk your feet over to the left until the pinky toe of your left foot is down on the wall and the big toe is pretty closely stacked up over the big toe of the right foot stacked over the left foot. Right arm stretches away from center. Your face can be up toward the ceiling or turned away. If this is too spicy, then you can loosen and not worry about the stack. About 5 more breaths. Slowly walk your feet back up the wall. You could press against the wall to reset your pelvis if you need to. And the feet will descend over to the right until the pinky toe of your right foot is down on the floor. You can stack the big toe of your left foot tight over the big toe of your right foot, or you can let the legs have a more relaxed spread to them instead of stacking. The left shoulder is heavy down and maybe your gaze is over to the left. Your right hand could be on your left thigh or spread off to the side. About 5 more very slow breaths. When you're ready to come out, you'll work your feet back up the wall one more time. Reset your pelvis. Stretch your legs up and spread your arms off to the sides. Stay 5 breaths or as many as you like. When you feel ready to come down, you can bend your knees, tip all the way over to one side. Pause for a breath. And then help yourself up to sitting. Namaste.